So everyone knows the story: a husband, a wife, and their children in a family that's loving, normal, and perfect. But behind the smiles and social media posts was something far darker. Today, we're looking at why Chris Watts may have been much more than a killer. He likely fits the pattern of being a covert narcissist, hiding behind the mask of being the perfect dad. The signs were there long before 2018. And if you ever wondered how someone seemingly quiet became so dangerous, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Holly May Cormier, author of Memphis, a domestic thriller about love, survival, and violence. On this channel, I talk about domestic true crime cases and narcissistic abuse and how these two topics correlate to each other. Domestic true crime cases are often fueled by one partner in a relationship having narcissistic personality disorder. So first, I'd like to give a brief recap on the 2018 tragedy that struck. And we all know about the story, right? In 2018, Chris Watts unalived his wife, Shanann, their two young daughters, and his unborn son. He pled guilty and received multiple life sentences with no possibility of parole. The case shocked the nation, partially because of how normal he seemed. To his friends, colleagues, and neighbors, Chris appeared quiet, polite, and devoted to his family. The image of a loving father and devoted husband is what makes this case so chilling. But we're going to look deeper, and we're going to examine that image of a loving father and husband is what makes this case so chilling. And as we dig deeper, we're going to see behavioral patterns that fit covert narcissism, a type of abuse that hides in plain sight. So let's pause and define what covert narcissism is. Unlike the stereotypical narcissist who is loud, brash, and overtly self-centered, covert narcissists appear quiet, introverted, but extremely manipulative. They often present as humble, charming, or even shy. But underneath, they control, they gaslight, and they manipulate those closest to them. They have hidden rage, emotional withdrawal, and a strong need to maintain a public image of perfection. Now, because they don't fit the typical stereotype of a dangerous person, they often fly under the radar. And that makes their abuse even more insidious. In the case of Chris Watts, this mask of normalcy is central to understanding how a seemingly normal father and husband could commit such horrific acts. Now, let's look at specific behaviors. First, the charm and the public normalcy. Before the murder, Chris Watts behaved like the perfect father and husband. He posted family photos, smiled in interviews, actively engaged with his children. Now, this is exactly what covert narcissists do. They build a public image to hide their true nature. Second, the affair that Chris Watts was secretly having. He was having an affair with a coworker, all while presenting a happy marriage. This secret life shows both entitlement and manipulation, a classic narcissistic behavior. Third, emotional withdrawal and lack of empathy. Friends and family reported that he became distant in the months leading up to the crime. He withdrew emotionally from Shanann while still controlling different aspects of her life, a hallmark of covert abuse. Fourth, escalation when his image was threatened. When his affair risked being exposed, his control escalated to violence. Narcissists often react with extreme measures when their perceived image or power is challenged. And here's another telltale sign. Chris's family reportedly had a strong dislike for Shanann and often expressed that they felt that she was taking him away from them. Now, this is a common tactic used by covert narcissists. It's also called using their flying monkeys. Early in a relationship, a narcissist will subtly manipulate others against their partner, painting themselves as the victim and their partner as the perpetrator. It can be very subtle, especially in the case of a covert narcissist, right? It's likely that Chris framed Shanann as controlling, or unreasonable, creating a divide between her and his family, all while garnering sympathy for himself. Now, a healthy partner might say to his family, I need to go home and be with my wife. Let's just catch up later. A narcissist, however, will manipulate the story so that others will feel like Shanann is at fault, which isolates the victim and reinforces the abuser's control. Fifth, post-crime behavior. Even in prison, Chris Watts reportedly corresponds with pen pals and women seeking attention. Now, I personally don't understand what woman in her right mind would be wanting to write letters to this psychopath who unalived his wife and his little girls. Like, what kind of mind frame are you in? How desperate and pathetic are you that you're going to be writing this guy in prison, hoping to strike up a relationship? I don't know. People are nuts. But it has happened. And I mean, it just goes to show that he is still seeking validation from people outside of prison while he's incarcerated. So recent letters from prison this year in 2025 reveal that Chris Watts claims to be forgiven by God and says he has become a new man. He writes, I am a new creature in Christ. Old things are passed away. All things become new. And while he frames himself as redeemed, he shifts blame to the woman he was having an affair with, calling her a harlot and a Jezebel who led him astray. So he presents this as proof of his transformation, but it's a classic narcissistic move, asking for forgiveness on his terms while avoiding true accountability. Even today, he reportedly maintains correspondence with women from prison. This demonstrates that for narcissists, attention, sympathy, and control, the so-called narcissistic supply, can continue indefinitely. The mask never fully comes off. This behavior reinforces a critical lesson. A narcissist may claim redemption or change, but without true accountability, these narratives are often just manipulation rather than anything genuine. So what can we learn from this case through the lens of a covert narcissist? Narcissists don't always look obvious. Many seem normal, loving, humble, but you have to recognize the red flags. Secret behaviors, control over others, and hidden rage. Now, abuse escalates quietly. Emotional manipulation, isolation, and small betrayals can often precede more drastic actions. Narcissists frequently manipulate friends and family against each other, creating isolation and undermining support networks. This tactic, often called utilizing their flying monkeys, is part of how narcissists maintain control. So the aftermath is long-lasting. Families suffer emotionally, financially, and socially after criminal acts. Awareness is key. Understanding covert narcissists can help victims recognize danger earlier, encourage society to take proactive steps in taking psychological abuse seriously. It can also allow people to recognize danger early. If you found this video helpful, please consider sharing it. You may help somebody in need by helping them recognize the signs and red flags to look for when dealing with a covert narcissist. Please leave me a comment if you want more videos analyzing covert narcissism, psychological patterns of abuse, and looking at other cases through this lens. If you enjoy this content, also please subscribe to my channel. And a reminder that my audiobook for Memphis will be out the next couple weeks. So if you're not a reader, you can listen to Memphis very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week.